Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Jack. And good morning, James. Okay, so last time when we met on Friday, we did the series that we knew as we knew it, right? And then we added in a new move, and that left us kind of short for time. So I'm going to invert that. We're going to work on the new moves first, and then we'll go through and do a practice and get as far as we can anyway, right? Okay, let's start. Okay, so we're going to work on two moves today. The first one is traditionally called pouring water, in deference to Master Zhang, who called water gold, right? We're going to call it pouring gold. The second one is called wind in the lotus leaves, and we actually do that. We call it the windmill. It's a very soft version of the windmill. So let's start with pouring gold. I really like this particular exercise a lot. There's a trick to it, however. Um, it has to do with the timing. All right. So what you're essentially doing is forming a cup on one side of the body, and then following it with this hand and pouring water or pouring gold from one hand into the other hand. And then on the other side, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Okay, so when you do this move, when you start, let's say we're going to start on the left side. So your weight is to the left, and you're going to rotate your dantian to the right. And when you do that, it's going to lift your arm, but notice my hand. It's completely relaxed. So you're not raising your hand or doing anything in your hand, you just relax it. All right? And then as you come down, you let the palm turn up. So now you have this cup. And now my weight is totally on the right side. All right? So again. So what energies are you using to do that? All right? What's this? Catherine, what energy is this?
Qigong.
Pung. Pung. Jack, what energy is this?
Lu.
Right. And James, what energy is this?
On.
Exactly. All right. Often, a lot of the exercises we do on energy is palms down and you're pressing down. But it can just as well be with the back of your forearm or the back of your hand. All right. What's important is that you actually do the on. So you sink your chi to your danchen and then down the leg that's holding your weight to the ground. All right? And let it go down until, oh, okay, boom, there it hits. All right. All right, that's one side. A big part of this move has to do with coordinating the two sides of the body. And there's a very particular rhythm that happens with this if you pay attention to what's happening inside. Hum. All right, so let's do that. So hopefully you can see it's not this. All right, that's not it. There's a circle here. There's a big circle. And you're going to go halfway around that circle before the other hand starts. So there's a little lag going on there, and the lag is actually, yeah, Jack, you got it. The lag is actually a little longer than you might think it would be. All right, wait, pung, no, at the end of the pung, that's not it. Right, as you go through lu and you pass your own midline, that's about when the other hand starts. So pung, lu, and the other hand starts, and it's going to go pong, lu, on. Right? Pong, lu, pong, lu. Right? And you're pouring water from this hand to this hand, but it's not just that the water hits this hand. It's also that inside it hits your danchen, and then it goes down your leg to the ground. Only when you feel it hit the ground do you stop. Boom. Boom. So, if you just look at the chi inside, it's going all the way down to the bottom of the foot, and it's coming up, and it's going all the way down to the bottom of the foot, and it's coming up and going all the way down. That arch. Right? So this is following that arch, and it goes all the way up to the keystone of the arch before the other side starts. Now, personally, I love this exercise. Maybe I'm prejudiced because I've been doing about a half a dozen of these exercises for years. but a lot of the other exercises I don't do regularly. One of the things I was thinking as we sort of looked at some of these exercises is I'm not sure all the exercises that we've outlined in the guiding sheet that I sent you actually belong in this series. They're so intense that to me, the FANG and GONG are really very gentle exercises. So if you put all of Tai Chi and Qigong, at least the Qigong that we do, on a single line, and it's a spectrum, and the spectrum goes from the most yin on the left to the most yang on the right, right? And everything we do fits on that spectrum somewhere. The most yin of all the things we do is standing meditation, because ultimately there's no movement there. The beginning form, the beginning movement of every single form is simply standing in meditation. So we do standing meditation. And then out of that stillness, you begin your movement. And then, as I've emphasized this past week, you return to that stillness within every movement, over and over and over again. With every yin and yang cycle, you return to that beginning place, so to speak. The old name for the beginning form, the sort of common name for the beginning form is Kai Shi. Kai means to open. Shi means a form. So opening form, opening movement, right? That's an informal kind of name. It's the name everybody uses now. But the formal name is Wu Ji Shi, right? Wu Ji is a Taoist philosophical term that means without limitations. Well, there's only one place without limitations, and that's silence. So Wu Qi, the phrase in Chinese is Wu Qi is the mother of Tai Chi. So the antecedent to Tai Chi, the beginning point of Tai Chi, is Wu Qi, not Dai Chi, Wu Qi. Right? Dai Chi means, what's a good way to translate it? Dai Chi means, they usually translate it as supreme ultimate. And people misunderstand that. They think the supreme ultimate refers to Tai Chi as a martial art. Oh, it's the supreme ultimate martial art. That's not what it means at all. It's not even close. What it really means is greatest limitations. Right? Limitations. Well, what do you mean, limitations? Well, Wuji is without limitations. Tai Chi is greatest limitations. What are the greatest limitations? Left and right, right? Yin and yang. That's what it means. It doesn't mean Tai Chi is the greatest martial art. It means it's based on the philosophical principle of the extreme limits. And those are yin and yang, right? So our curriculum in Hunyuan Tai Chi is built on that concept that you need to practice the whole spectrum. You need to practice from most yin to most yang. Well, what's most yang? Most yang is out and out fighting. The second is sparring. The third is push hands. Right? Push hands is a very light, gentle version of sparring, which is a lighter, gentler version of fighting. Right? Why is it you don't want to do fighting? Nobody does fighting anymore. Why not? Why don't you want to do fighting? Because you can get killed, or injured for the rest of your life, or get your eye poked out. It's dangerous. In the old days, they would have something called lai tais, Lai Tais were open challenges. They had, around China, they had built large, round, stone uh, platforms, and they were pretty high. They were anywhere from 6 feet to 8 feet high, and they were like 30 feet around in a circular. And a martial artist would say, "All right, I'm going to have a Lai Tai. I'm going to hold that circular thing," and the tradition was to hold it for 17 days. And I will take on all challengers. Anyone who wants to come up here and challenge me, I will take them on. All right. And before you stepped up onto the Lai Tai to challenge the guy, you had to sign a death warrant. If he kills me or maims me for the rest of my life, my family and my clan will not seek vengeance. So these were fights to the death. They were absolutely serious about this, and a lot of people did die and get hurt. Fortunately, that's kind of in the past. Although my teacher's teacher did a 17-day Lai Tai when he moved from Chen Village to Beijing. He got up on one of the Lai Tai stations that I'll take on all challengers. And apparently he took on about 200 people over that 17 days. Right? And he beat them all, which is why he became Tai Chi Master #1 in Beijing and kind of started his career. As long as you can beat everybody, it works. If you can't, I'm not sure what the advantage is. Right? But to get back to what we're doing here today, the most yin exercise is standing meditation. The next most yin is what we're doing today, FANG Gong. Right? Yes, there is movement, but boy, it's almost right next to meditation. It's very, very gentle. You are not exerting yourself strongly at all. You're just relaxing into this very basic movement. You're not working up your heart rate. You're not working up your breathing. You're just very gently moving the qi in the body. Okay, for me personally, I think these are great exercises. They're really good for you. They're good for your mind as well as your energy body and your physical body. But there are a number of exercises in this series, as I've sort of collected it here. Although, excuse me, they're traditional, they do tend to raise your heart rate a little bit. They do tend to raise your breathing a little bit. And I'm thinking particularly of White Ape Presents Fruit that we did the other day, that Catherine liked so much, right? That little exercise is pretty darn intense. To me, it is more intense than what I personally like to do in FANG Gong. So personally, I would take that movement and move it out of FANG Gong and into Huanyan Qigong, which is the next step up. Huanyan Qigong is what we do Sunday mornings. And then from there, you go to silk reeling. From silk reeling, you go to the forms. From the forms, you go to the weapons. From the weapons, you go to push hands. All 5 levels. From push hands, you go to sparring, and from sparring, you go to fighting. And we're not going to be doing any fighting. I know Catherine wants to, but we're not going to be doing any fighting. Right? Because our focus is on personal development, and fighting is maybe that's maybe that's okay for young guys, right? And young people, I should say, but not for us that are a little older. Right? So this exercise to me is perfect for FANG and GONG, relaxing. You know, to me, when you do this, it should be, think about your body. You have two things in your body. You have places that don't move and places that do move, right? The places that move are your joints. And when I'm doing Feng Gong, it's like my joints are just melting, right? They're just, they're full of honey. They're full of liquid gold. And it's just very enjoyable to very gently move the joints, move the chi through the joints without any strain at all. Right? And if we're doing pouring gold, it's the same thing, even though it's a much more complicated movement. Well, take your time. Another way to think about this, and you also can make up your own ways to for any of these exercises to help you understand to maybe understand is the wrong word, to explore what's going on inside and just kind of notice what are the possibilities with this movement. Another way to think about this is there's a big wheel in front of you. And the wheel maybe goes from about here all the way down to the ground, and the center axle goes right through your danshan. And what you're doing is grabbing the rim of that wheel and turning the wheel, and then turn the wheel. Oh, and then turn it back. Okay, so this very basic one of the things I like about the Fang Gong moves that I particularly enjoy is they're very simple. It's a very, very simple movement, but if you really do it right, I don't know, you can see my fingers are really starting to swell. It's because I'm getting more relaxed. All right, so my fingers tend to puff up a little bit. Catherine, I think your fingers, yeah, exactly. Think about this movement though, this basic movement. How is that movement related to the Tai Chi forms? Watch. They're very, very, very similar. Right? It's really all kind of the same movement. And what I'm thinking of is when we do shoe circles in the form, I think I've mentioned this to you before, and Catherine is demonstrating this really well. The hands do not go together. It's not like this. I'll exaggerate, right? But it's not this, right? Because there's two sides to your body. And there's the width of your body to contend with. So there's a beat that has to happen in here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what you're actually doing, right? And then it smooths out. Left side goes first, right side goes first, left side goes first. Now, once you get comfortable with that, it looks kind of like you're doing everything. Everything looks like it's going together, and it is in a way, but it's much more like two horses that have been teamed up than it is like one horse, right? It's a team effort. All right, let's go on. Any questions, Jack?
Yeah, in the pouring gold, this part
Uh-huh.
is this considered G energy?
Yeah, I think you absolutely can consider that G energy, particularly the last little bit of it. At the beginning, it's pressing energy. But about the time you get to your solar plexus, now it starts to be condensing energy, right? So you can just sort of touch on that a little, and then pong, lu, on, and G. Right? When you feel this compressing, that's when it turns into G. Boom. Good question.
Malcolm, is the turn from side to side at the waist, the hips, where?
Yes.
What level?
um, um, there is, of course, a little hip movement in there, but it's mainly waist. I think I've mentioned this before. In Tai Chi, also in Qigong, but especially in Tai Chi, there are certain differentiations you have to make. One of the differentiations is with the physical body. So if these represent my hips and this represents my waist, for most people, those are locked together. So if you say move your waist, they will also move their hips. If you say move your hips, they will also move their waist. But in Tai Chi, you have to differentiate them. You have to articulate them. So the waist can move separately from the hips. Now, your physical waist can move separately from your hips, but not very far. It can move, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. Probably not even 6 inches. Maybe about 3 or 4 inches. Right? Boom. My waist can turn, although my hips are not moving. But, and this is the important point, guys. You have two waists. One of them is physical. You can only move that about 3 or 4 inches. But you've got another waist that's energetic. And that waist you can really crank. So, that my physical waist maybe can move 3 or 4 inches. But my energetic waist can move all the way around for most things that you do in Tai Chi or Qigong. I don't know what I'm doing on the back here, but I'm gonna try and do this right. For most things in Tai Chi, the energy can move around to this hip, or if I move around, boom, to this hip here. All right. And I lost my marker, but you get the idea. physically, you can't move your waist like that physically, but energetically you absolutely can, and you absolutely have to. All right, it goes, all the way around your waist, all the way around, all 360 degrees. Let me do an exercise from the elbow series, and just watch. What am I doing? You have to guide this with your mind. Pung Lu. Lu is about turning, and that means you're going to use the daimai around the waist, right? When I come up Pung, and then I'm going to turn, my energy is going to go all the way around to this hip, right, in front. That's the superior iliac crest. Boom. And then on, and now I'm going to go back. The energy is going to come back. It's going to go around my waist to this hip. So it's making an almost 360-degree circle. It's going to the right, it sinks, and now it's going back all the way around in there. So the first one comes here, and then it goes all the way around back to there. Now, my hips can't do that. I can't turn my hips 360 degrees. It's not going to happen. They're actually turning quite a bit, but they're turning, maybe they're turning 90 degrees, 45 here, 45 here, but my inner waist is turning 360 degrees. Right? All the way to here, and now across my back to here. When you use this particular movement, watch for that 360 degrees. I'm going to ape the actual application, right? First it's in front, and now as I pull in, it goes back, and now it's gonna come clear across to here. If you don't do that, it won't work. Because what will happen is if you have no consciousness and control of your daimai, then what you will do is you'll try to do this with your arm, and it won't work because you won't be strong enough. Nobody's strong enough, right? Look at the size of my arm. Now look at the size of my waist. Which one is stronger? Exactly. I hope anyway, right? So you're using your whole body and all your weight because you are controlling your whole energy body and pulling it together, in this case with the dantian and the daimai. So this is the difference between doing empty Tai Chi or empty Qigong and doing real Tai Chi or real Qigong. You're paying attention to the inside. Right? The outside movement is not that important. Right? This is not an elbow exercise. We're just using the elbow. What it is a daimai exercise. So when we're doing the next move in this series is we call the windmill. They call it wind in the lotus leaf, something like that. And it's a very gentle version of the windmill that we do. When we do the windmill, right, we're pretty intense. This is a softer version of that. So you're not down, you're in a horse stance, but it's a high horse stance, and it's very gentle. But you should still be paying attention to the waist. It turns. The waist is, the chi is following my hands. It's going boom, boom, boom. That's the exercise, not the hands. Right? And then if you were going to crank it up a little bit, you would go on and do what we do, right? A little more intense version of it. And I think I've mentioned to you guys, when we do our intense version of it, I combine a little paida along with that. Paida is knocking or popping. So when we do these kinds of exercises, those are paida. Those are slapping or hitting techniques. And I combine one with this exercise. I've got some lower back pain. It really helps to do a little paida. Right? But that level of exercise is a more yang level than FANG Qigong. I would put that exercise not in FANG Qigong, but in primordial Qigong, what we do Sunday morning, which is really a form of medicinal, what's called medicinal Qigong. So you're actually giving yourself medicine, so to speak, right? But the exercise is softened, right? For FANG Qigong, very soft. One final thought. Kevin, during the advanced class this past weekend, asked about how the feet work, and I think what he was really looking for was, secret kung fu foot techniques. Right? Well, there kind of are in a certain way, but not in the way that he thought. You're because I work in shoes, right? Why do I work in shoes? Well, standing on cold concrete is not very good for your chi. Also, I trained out in Golden Gate Park, which is full of dog pee and broken bottle tops, right? So you don't want to be barefoot out there. You need to have shoes. But the truth is, working in bare feet or socks is a great way to work this. And what happens with your feet is they do this. Your toes and your feet are not just slabs of meat. They're actually active, right? It's called tiger paws, right? So you're constantly flexing, grabbing the ground, pushing off from the ground, right? With the toes and the heel. So you can do a little of that with this movement, right? So let me turn sideways. I think this should get it here, right? So raise your foot, raise your foot, raise your right foot, raise your left foot, right foot, right? You can think of it raising your heels. Raise the right heel, raise the left heel. Okay, well, it took the whole time just to talk about these two little simple exercises. But on what today is today? Today's Monday. On Friday, we'll go through everything that we've practice wise. We'll just practice everything that we've learned so far. So that is a total of 9 moves. Okay, and if you're looking for the detailed explanation of these, they're up on the YouTube channel. Just look for FANG and GONG lesson 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is 4. This may be the 5th one so far. All right. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right. You guys have yourselves a great day. All right. See you Friday.